Okay, so we will start with this new concept, that is ideal types. And if you remember, in the previous session, we have discussed about what? We have discussed about social action, and we have understood the subject matter according to Weber in terms of social action. So, sociology, what is the subject matter? According to Weber, it is basically to study the social action. And according to Emile Durkheim, we have seen it is to study the social fact. Now, when we discussed about Weber, study social action, and then what you need to do? You need to establish the cause and effect relationship. Okay, so how can you establish the cause and effect relationship? For that, he said that you have to understand the meanings attached by the actor to the action. So this is what we have discussed. Okay, so scope of sociology is basically to study social action. Study social action, and what you need to do, establish the cause and effect relation, and that is a scientific element in his approach, and this is the non-positivist element in his approach. How to establish the cause and effect? You try to find the meanings attached by the actor for the action. If you can understand the meanings attached by the actor for the action, then it will be very easy for you to establish the cause and effect relation. Okay, and we have seen different types of social action. So different types of social action, you will perform the 1, 2, 3, 4 types of action, and these are having different meanings, right? So you try to establish the meanings, meaning 1, meaning 2, meaning 3, and meaning 4. So we have seen yesterday 4 different types of meanings, commonly understood types of meaning, and based on that there are 4 commonly understood types of actions. What are they? Traditional social action, and then affective social action, and then we have seen word rational or value rational social action, and then we have discussed about Zweck rational social action. Okay, so here you can see different meanings in each action. Traditional action, the meanings derive from where? From certain beliefs or tradition, right? Affective action, the meanings are coming out of some emotions. Word rational, this is to uphold the moral value of society. This is a rational action taking into consideration the means and ends. Zweck rational action, again to fulfill the goal. Okay, so you can see different meanings. These are the 4 different possible meanings, and these are the 4 different possible action. And there may be combinations of meaning, so there may be combination of action. So any action, if you take, it can be fit into any of these 4 or the combination of any of this based on the meanings that the actor attached to the action. For example, I've told you, you respect your teacher. Okay, that may be coming out of certain belief, but at the same time you may show the respect just to fulfill your goal also. Okay, there can be a combination also, right? So you need to understand in this context. So this is what, again, multiple causes are there, multiple meanings may be there. So this is what plurality of causes. So different probable meanings will be there in the action. So actual action can be compared with any of this. So you need to understand the meanings, and this is what the commonly understood meaning, and this is the commonly understood actions. And yesterday I've told you which word you use to explain this commonly understood phenomena, commonly understood action, commonly understood meanings. Okay, so we have discussed this as ideal types. What is ideal types? Commonly understood types, or the regularities which you can see in society. And I've given you example when in the context of family, I've told you what are the commonly understood things which will come to your mind. You will see economic security in family, okay, sexual gratification, and then taking care of aged, okay, emotional, economic security, etc. So all these are the commonly understood elements of family. That's what ideal types of family. So here we discussed as ideal types of social action. That means commonly seen elements of social action, commonly understood elements of social action, or the common social action. So these are the 4 common actions. Any action if you take, it will fit into this common type. Okay, so actual action may be compared with any of this. That's what we have understood yesterday. I hope this is very clear for all of you. Ideal type in itself can be a separate question. Now we are going to discuss in detail about this. Don't worry, I'll give you the content, exactly what you need to write. The PDF is actually to the exam point of view. What you need to write in the exam is what is actually there in the PDF. You don't want to read anything for that. But understand like this, ideal types means regularities. Regularities means commonly understood elements. So when you talk about capitalism, what all things will come to your mind? Profit, right? Money, time is precious, worker is a mean to an end. All these are the commonly understood elements. So that's what the ideal types of capitalism. So if you get a question on ideal type, what you need to write, the first sentence or the first paragraph, it should be talking about commonly understood elements, or in other words, you can say regularities which you can see in the society. But see, when I identify the commonly understood terms and you understand the commonly understood elements, it may be different. So it has to be done by a trained investigator. Why he is stressing on trained investigator? So that you can ensure objectivity. So all these points has to be there in your answer if you are writing the question on ideal types. So many students prepare this concept without actually understanding this. They will just read the PDF, and you can see, you can ask to many people, they will just read the material and they'll just mug it up. But what is ideal types? The regularities. And you have seen, if the question is asked about ideal types, you can write from the first theory this as examples of ideal type. You got enough content. And in the next theory that we are going to discuss about Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, you can see extensive use of ideal types. And you can write this concept very beautifully. And the content that I'm going to give you, that's the best content, and I'm very confident in that. You don't want to read anything for this. And if this question is asked, it's a must attend question, ideal types, and you will get very good mark. Okay, but you have to incorporate from the first theory. And then there is one more concept that we will be discussing later, authority. In this also he talks about different types of authority, like traditional authority, charismatic authority, and then rational legal authority. This is again based on three different actions. Traditional authority means three different actions or three different meanings. Traditional meanings, beliefs, etc. Charismatic authority means personal qualities, charisma. Rational authority means it is a legal rational authority, like the authority of the police officers, the judges, the IAS officers, etc. These are the ideal types of authority. Okay, so you will get a lot of examples in all these discussions. You need to incorporate this, and if the question is asked, it's a must attempt question. Never leave this question, even if you find that another choice is there, but still maximum if possible try to attempt this question. Once you read the PDF, you will understand everything. So Weber used extensively the method of ideal types for the purpose of objective sociological research. Okay, so you can see the use of ideal types firstly in his theory of social action, and then when we will discuss about the theory of authority, we will discuss there, and then Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, there also you will see the use of ideal types. So method of ideal types is actually extensively used by Weber. Okay. And the concept of ideal types had been earlier used because it is general type. There is no method here, right? It is all about regularity. Identifying regularity, how can it be a new method? It's not a new method. But Weber was the first person who employed it as a method for establishing plurality of causes in sociology. Okay, for example, when we talk about action, he gave 4 different types of action, and he said that any action can be combination of any of this. The meaning can be combination of any of the 4, right? That means multiple meanings are possible. That means multiple causes are possible for any action. Ideal types are the abstractions which are employed in order to understand the complexities of social life. It pertains to identifying the elements of reality in terms of abstraction, which when combined can help us in understanding the reality. So this word is very important. If you combine the ideal type, then you can understand the reality. Individual elements may be meaningless. You see, yesterday when we discussed about family, we can talk about different elements, right? Economic security, emotional security, sexual gratification, and taking care of child, taking care of old. So all these are the regularities. All these are the ideal types. But if you see the individual elements, economic security, it is meaningless because this cannot tell you where I'm talking about family, right? Because economic security can be from friends also. Emotional security individually. It is not necessarily family. Sexual gratification, not necessarily family. Taking care of child care centers are there, not necessarily family. Taking care of old age centers are there. So individual elements may not give you the reality, but you see this possibility. I combine all these. All these are what? Ideal types. All these are what? Regularities. If I combine all these, is there any other social institution which will provide all these function? No. So I can understand it is family, right? So the combination will help you to understand the reality. So ideal types within itself as individual elements are meaningless. But if you combine it, it will help you to understand the actual reality. So this is a very important point. This is how you need to write your answer. This kind of clarity is required. If you mug it up and just reproduce it, this clarity won't be there in your answer, and that can be easily understood the person who's evaluating the paper, because I'm evaluating hundreds of papers every day, every week, so I can see this difference. Ideal type act as a measuring rod for the investigator. Actual phenomena can be understood by comparing it with the ideal types. Okay, so actual phenomena, that means when you need to understand a particular action, what you need to do, compare it with any of the four traditional, if affective, Zweck rational, work rational, compare it with any of these four. That's how you can actually understand that action. According to Weber, ideal types are not realities in themselves, but these are the ways to express reality. For example, in the context of family, this is what I've told you. If you talk one element, it will not reflect family. That's not the reality. But these are the ways to express the reality. The individual elements may be meaningless, but when you compare it with the other elements, it gives the view of the reality. I hope you understood that. So this is the key point. Whatever I have underlined to you, why I am underlining this, that also you need to understand. Whatever I am underlining, that words, that sentences should be there in your answer. Otherwise, whatever you write, it's not a problem. From your understanding, you can write. But in the PDF, whatever is underlined, try to reproduce exactly the same way in the same language, and you will be benefited for sure. The formulation of ideal types, as I've told you, it has to be by a trained investigator. Why? Because different people may come up with different ideal types. So these are formed by the combination of indefinite number of elements, which though found in reality, but are rarely or never discovered in their specific forms. According to Weber, the task of interpretation of these elements must be done by a trained investigator who is competent in that sphere. So you can see Weber always talk about a trained investigator. Why he is talking about a trained investigator always? Because firstly, he is stressing on objectivity. Okay, so if you need to ensure objectivity, you need a trained investigator. Why? Because you are dealing with human beings. So Weber basically differentiated between the subject matter of natural science and social science. Natural science deals with matter which do not have any consciousness, and the behavior can be predicted very easily with cause and effect relationship objectively. But that's not the case with human beings. The behavior cannot be predicted, and to the extent possible, you need to be objective, and for that matter, you need the trained investigator. Anyone is not enough. You need a trained investigator who's competent in that sphere. The investigator must be capable of seeing the reality through the eyes of the individual actor. Thus, the elements are to be identified not as an external reality, but on the basis of individual's interpretation of the subject in question. Thus, ideal types contain some specific traits identified by the investigator. The ideal type concept, so this is a statement which you can write. The ideal typical, the statement goes like this: the ideal typical concept will develop our skill in imputation in research. It's not a description of reality, but it aims to give means of expression to such a description. So this total statement, if you can remember, you can write that. That itself will convey everything that we have discussed so far. Now the types of ideal types. In Weber's writings, the methods of ideal types has been extensively used. It is the most prominent method used by Weber to establish cause and effect relationship. Broadly, the different ideal types formulated by Weber can be classified into different types. 3 different types are there. Ideal types of historical particulars, Weber developed ideal types of various historical phenomena in order to undertake comparative analysis or further establishment of cause. For example, Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. So you can explain this directly from the theory once we're done with this tomorrow. Okay. So basically what he will do is he will, this is for what? This is for making a comparative analysis. So his theory is Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. So what he do is he consider the ideal types of this religion, Protestant religion, and he also take the ideal types of capitalism, and then he compare both. That's what comparative analysis, and he will make a conclusion or find the cause for establishment of capitalism. The cause is actually the religion. This religion helped in the establishment of capitalism. So this is what we are going to discuss in the next theory in a very simple way. Once you understood the concept of ideal type, that's going to be a cakewalk for you. Okay. So next one that we have already discussed, types of social actions. So ideal types of abstract elements of social reality. For example, types of social actions are 4 types that we have discussed yesterday. So I'm not getting into this now. And then types of authority. This also we will be discussing when we discuss about the concept of authority. So this we will discuss in detail later. Okay, so authority means it is the power. Okay, legitimate power is authority, and the different types of authority we will discuss this. So that's about this concept ideal type. Any doubts here?
Sir?
Tell me.
Good evening. Sir, I read somewhere that the use of ideal types is for a sociologist to compare whether an institution is still functioning, a social institution. For example, some people say that family is no more there because there are so many divorces and people are from there are emergence of nuclear family and all that. So my question is, hello.
Yeah, tell me.
So my question is, so I think ideal type is a great tool for people to compare whether a social institution is still working.
Yes.
So in that sense, sir, who defines it? Who defines the list of ideal types? For example, you give a suggestion that in a family ideal type, there should be sexual gratification, emotional well-being and all that. So, but Weber did not define the ideal type of anything. So, sir, is it not required for someone to define ideal type of probably everything?
It's not that anyone to define it. It is a commonly understood. So family means what all things are commonly understood. That's the elements that you need to take here. You don't want to define anything. You cannot actually define anything.
Right.
You have to pick those commonly understood elements only. You need to pick it. You cannot define. If you try to define, then it becomes biased. As an investigator, your role is not to define. You just need to pick it. Even when you pick also, there will be bias, but still that can be managed.
Sir, can you just elaborate on this point a bit more in terms of how an investigator, and also sir, Weber keeps talking about investigator, but he never really defines, just like what Durkheim said, that there should be occupational groups that should define.
That you can use in criticism.
Right.
That you can write in criticism actually.
Although ideal type is a great abstract tool, but it seems a bit more abstract because there's no consensus as to what is an ideal